They left her to die alone in the poison storms, forgotten, unwanted, a broken outcast. But as she took what she thought would be her final breath, a human knelt beside her, shielding her fragile body with his own. In that moment, when all she felt was his warmth, she realized someone would rather die than let her go alone. Banished and broken, she crawled across the scarred plains under a sky so heavy with sulfur clouds it almost wept acid tears. Her blue skin, once shimmering like moonlit water, was now dulled and cracked. Every breath she drew felt like swallowing knives. Her people had named her Uriai, meaning ghost, but not because they thought her elegant or graceful, it was because she was already considered dead to them. A hybrid mistake born from a scandalous union, her existence was an eternal stain on their honor. So they cast her out to the acid storms, stripped her of her garments, her rank, her very name. And they left her with nothing but the echo of her own ragged heartbeat. She remembered the last council meeting, her mother averting her gaze, her father standing like a statue carved from ice, and the elder's decree echoing through the hall like a blade against bone. She shall be banished beyond the border. Her impurity must not infect our sacred bloodline. No one spoke up for her. No one wept. They simply turned away, as though she had never drawn her first breath among them. Uriai staggered beneath the storm's fury. Her feet bled, the harsh ground tearing skin with every step. Her delicate fingers, which once painted ceremonial runes and braided sacred talismans, now scraped the mud, desperately searching for anything that might shield her from the acidic rain. The storm battered her hair, long silver strands streaked with blue, whipping them into her eyes until she could barely see. Her throat burned. She had no water. No food. Every inhale was a gamble against the toxins swirling in the air. Her blue skin was blotched with purplish lesions where acid had splashed, and each pulse of pain felt like a curse, a reminder that she should not have survived even this long. Yet she clung to something in the darkness, a stubborn, irrational instinct that refused to let her collapse. She thought about the few times she had seen humans on trade broadcasts. Strange, upright creatures with warm brown skin and easy smiles. Merchants called them soft, naive, too trusting. But Uriai had seen the way humans cradled small animals in their palms, the way they laughed so freely, and she envied them. She never believed she would see one up close. That night, when the storm reached its cruel crescendo, she curled into a shallow crevice, trying to make her shivering body smaller. Her heartbeat slowed, her limbs stiffened, and her eyelids dropped heavy as iron gates. She whispered to herself, not prayers to her ancestors, they had abandoned her, but simple, childish words. Please. Someone. Find me. She almost didn't hear the footsteps crunching over the mud. At first she thought they were hallucinations, a final dream before her soul drifted beyond the black. But they came closer, steady, deliberate, unfazed by the storm's rage. Uriai forced her eyes open and saw a shadow above her, broad and warm, blocking out the poisonous drizzle. The figure knelt beside her. A hand, strong and gentle, brushed the mud from her cheek. Her vision flickered in and out, but she felt the warmth radiating from him, the warmth she had been denied her entire life. He spoke, but she only caught fragments. Too cold, too weak, hold on. His voice rumbled deep in his chest, vibrating through her bones. No judgment in his eyes. No disgust at her hybrid skin. Only urgency, and something else she didn't recognize. Was it sorrow? Or hope? He gathered her in his arms as if she weighed nothing at all. Against his chest, she felt his heartbeat, steady, powerful, as if he were willing it to replace her own. Uriai wanted to push him away, to tell him she was worthless, that he was making a mistake. But her strength failed her. She only managed a soft sound, halfway between a sob and a plea. He pressed his forehead to hers. I'm not leaving you here. You hear me? You're coming with me. As he stood, her limp arms hung useless at her sides. The acidic wind battered them both, but he didn't hesitate. Each step he took, he shielded her more, wrapping his jacket, coarse and strangely comforting, around her fragile body. She tried to focus on his scent, a mix of metal, earth, and something sweet she couldn't place. Her mind drifted. She remembered her childhood, watching the elders braid her hair in the festival courtyard, the taste of spiced nectar dribbling down her chin, her mother's hand pulling her away when strangers passed. Every memory felt distant, like shadows on a ruined wall. Yet this human, she didn't even know his name, felt more real than every face she had known before. He didn't avert his eyes. Didn't hiss at her impurity. Didn't offer her to the storm. When they reached his shelter, a low metal dome hissing with recycled air, he kicked the door open with his boot and carried her inside. The sudden warmth inside made her cry out weakly, her body shocked at the kindness. He set her down on a padded mat and started tearing off soaked layers from himself first, dripping with acid spots, then cautiously unwrapping her. Under the glaring lights, she felt ashamed of every mark, every ugly purple welt and cracked scale. She trembled, expecting him to recoil. Instead, he knelt and took a soft cloth, dipping it in clean water before wiping the mud from her face, her arms, her legs. His hands were careful, almost reverent. When he spoke again, his voice was low and calm. "I'm Alex. You don't have to say anything. You're safe here." She tried to answer, but her throat only croaked. He shushed her softly, bringing a small tube of healing balm to her lips. She tasted the sweetness and almost cried, a kindness she never imagined she would know. Each touch was a vow. Each breath he took beside her was a defiance of every lie she had ever been told about herself. That she was unworthy, untouchable, doomed. He laid a thick blanket over her shoulders, tucking it around her as if she were something precious. Then he sat close, wrapping his arms around her again, sharing his heat. She closed her eyes, her tears finally breaking free, trickling down her bruised cheeks and soaking into his shirt. A human, a creature she had never truly known, had found her in her final moments and given her something her entire clan never did. Hope. When her tears finally slowed, she managed one word, broken and tiny. "Why?" He looked at her with a gentle, exhausted smile. "Because you deserve to live. You deserve better than they gave you." Her eyes widened, shimmering wet in the light. For the first time, she believed it might be true. She leaned forward, resting her forehead against his chest again, listening to his heartbeat as if it were a star guiding her out of the abyss. Outside, the storm roared on, furious and endless. But in that small warm shelter, she had found a new reason to keep breathing. Tomorrow, she would learn to stand again. Tomorrow, she might learn to laugh. But tonight, she just held on to his warmth, and for the first time since her banishment, she drifted to sleep feeling safe. She woke to the sound of water bubbling softly. A low glow bathed the room, a lamp shaped like a human moon, gentle and pale. Uri blinked slowly, her body heavy, each ache reminding her that she was alive, painfully, astonishingly alive. When she shifted, the blanket slipped, revealing her bruised shoulders and patches of cracked scales. Her breath caught, the shame rising like bile. She turned, half expecting the human to look at her with disgust. But instead, Alex was crouched by a small stove, stirring a pot of something fragrant. He looked up and smiled, not a forced smile, but one so warm she felt it burn into her bones. "You're awake," he said, setting the spoon down. "I made some broth, easy to digest. You need your strength." She swallowed, her dry throat straining. Her mind fought to find the words, her language mixed with his, her old clan tongue weaving through broken syllables. But all she managed was a trembling, "Thank you." Alex shook his head gently. "Don't thank me. Just eat. Rest. Heal." He brought the bowl to her, and when she struggled to hold it, he guided her hands around it. The warmth seeped into her fingers, and the steam carried a sweetness she hadn't tasted since childhood. Sipping slowly, she felt life return to her hollow frame. Every swallow was a shock, as if her body didn't quite believe it deserved this kindness. Tears slid down her face again, and Alex caught them with his thumb, wiping them away without a word. After the broth, she tried to shift to a sitting position. Her muscles trembled, and her breath quickened. Alex moved immediately, one arm bracing her back. "You don't have to push yourself," he murmured, but she shook her head. I need to try," she rasped. He nodded, his eyes unwavering. Together, they moved, slow, painful inches until she managed to sit upright. Her hands clutched his shirt, fingers digging into the fabric as if he were her last anchor to the world. Her silver blue hair fell across her face, tangled and matted with dried blood and mud. Alex reached for a basin and began cleaning it gently, fingers combing through the strands with infinite patience. Each tug made her flinch, but she didn't pull away. She watched his face, steady, focused, as if her hair were a sacred relic. She tried to speak again, her voice raw. "They left me because I wasn't pure." Alex's jaw tightened, but he didn't stop. Their loss. Their blindness. She laughed, a brittle, broken sound. "They said I would curse the soil, kill the air." "Lies," Alex said sharply. Then his voice softened again. "You're not a curse. You're alive. That alone is a miracle." Her eyes welled again. Her clan had spoken only in curses and condemnation. Yet this human, who owed her nothing, called her a miracle. When her hair was finally free of knots, Alex braided a loose section, his fingers clumsy but careful. She watched him, captivated. The braid looked uneven, almost childish, but it felt more beautiful than any ceremonial style her people had forced on her. "Done," he said, grinning sheepishly. Not exactly professional, but... It's perfect, she whispered. For a moment, silence hung between them, a fragile, sacred pause. She lifted her trembling hand, touched his cheek. Her skin against his felt shockingly warm. He turned his face slightly, pressing into her palm. I thought I would die alone, she admitted, her words spilling out now, like a river breaking its banks. I thought no one would ever look at me again. Not without hate. He captured her hand in his, holding it against his heart. You'll never be alone again, he said firmly. She lowered her gaze. Why? Why me? I'm broken. Alex leaned closer, his forehead almost touching hers. Everyone's broken somehow. But that doesn't make us worthless. It just makes us human. Or alive. Her breath caught in her chest. In that moment, she saw not just a rescuer but something deeper. A soul willing to share her burdens, a warmth that had been denied to her since her first breath. Days passed in gentle routine. Alex taught her human words, showed her how to prepare simple meals, how to dress her wounds. She stumbled and fumbled, sometimes frustrated by her own weakness, but each time she fell, he was there, never letting her linger in despair. Her skin, though still scarred, began to glow again. Her hair regained its soft shimmer. When she looked in the mirror, a small, cracked piece Alex had found for her, she no longer saw a curse. She saw someone learning to live. They spent evenings in the small shelter, curled up beside the makeshift heater. Alex would tell stories of Earth, of forests so green they blinded the eye, of oceans roaring like thunder, of cities shimmering with endless lights. Uri listened with wide eyes, each word weaving a tapestry of a world she never imagined. One evening, she touched his hand lightly. Will you show me Earth someday? Alex squeezed her fingers. I promise. You'll see every star, every sea. You'll stand where no one can ever call you impure again. She leaned against him, her eyes fluttering shut. For the first time, her dreams were not filled with acid storms or hateful chants. Instead, she dreamt of stars and green forests, of oceans and gentle rain, and of a human heartbeat that had once saved her. Months turned into a gentle flow of healing. Uri began to walk on her own again, her steps slow but sure. She learned to cook, to laugh, a shy melodic sound that made Alex pause every time, as if he had discovered a new music. Eventually, they stood together at the shelter's threshold, looking out into the alien plains. The storms had passed, leaving the ground wet and glistening under a soft dawn. Alex turned to her, eyes searching hers. Ready? She nodded, blue skin glowing under the sunrise. Ready. Together they stepped out, no longer a banished ghost and a wandering human, but two souls bound by survival, kindness, and something deeper. As they walked toward the transport craft waiting to carry them beyond the poison plains, Uri felt the weight of her old life crumble behind her. The curses of her clan no longer chained her. She wasn't a ghost. She wasn't a curse. She was alive. She was loved. And with every step beside Alex, she learned that she had never truly needed the clan's acceptance, only one human's heart willing to beat beside hers. Their silhouettes vanished into the sunrise, two fragile figures stitched together by compassion, and together, they carried the promise of a new beginning beyond every storm.